Ooh. All right, it is time. We are live right now on Twitch, Facebook, and the YouTube for Soccer to the Max. I am here, Sean Garber, your host, and always with me, Mr. Eric Watkins.
I hope you're not sick of me, folks. Hi, I'm
Uh,
back.
yeah, Eric is he does like triple duty here for the W2 Network. So, I mean, if some people watch the game show and this and the kickoff and the League to the Max show, you'll see Eric a million times. So you you either love him or hate him at this point. So at least you only see me twice, and that's it. I mean, I wish I had time to do more shows, but I really don't. But hey, anyway, what matters here is we're back to talking about the round ball, the soccer ball. Sorry, we're a little bit late. The one time the Cowboys are on Sunday night and they happen to go all the way to the end and make you have to suffer, so they win. Eh, I was a little bit excited and everything, and so God had to calm myself down to talk about something else so that it wasn't the Cowboys there. But
Don't worry, I'll have plenty to talk about with your Cowboys come the kickoff this week. Hi,
you
Kennedy.
better you better have
Of course.
plenty to talk about there.
Yeah, I had, let's just say I had a vested interest in that game. And for those of you who listen or go back in the archives on YouTube, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, yeah, I mean, there is a few things to talk about. It wasn't. I think we definitely missed the boat some last week. I apologize that we didn't do the show last week. It's just a lot of stuff going on, and it just didn't kind of fit. We'll try not to do that again, especially with another big round of international games coming up pretty soon here. So before you know it, we'll be talking about the U.S. men's national team again. But anyway, let's go ahead and get to our headlines, Eric. And well, the New England Revolution, they won the Supporter Shield officially last week. Okay, and then
Yeah, I mean, it did so far, especially with the way that they've been running away. It was inevitable.
I mean, yes, exactly. It was inevitable. We knew it, right? We knew that they were going to win. It was just a matter of when is it going to be officially official, so you can get it over with. But they did break the points record, the all-time points record, which it was possible that they may not get. Right? It's not a guarantee you're going to win your last two games.
Oh yeah.
So they did officially do that, winning 1-0 over Portland. So congratulations to them. The thing is, does this really matter, Eric? Because if you go back in history, things don't really necessarily bode well for the Supporter Shield equaling also MLS Cup.
Exactly. And even if you look at recent history at the Supporter Shield, and more importantly, this record breaking points tally, first it was all Atlanta. Could they do it? They did. Yeah. Granted, it came out successful.
I mean, technically, they didn't win Supporter Shield that year.
Well, right.
The Red Bulls won, but that goes against your point of the Red Bulls only made it to the conference finals that year.
Exactly, because I mean, if you look at the records, it was Atlanta, then the Red Bulls, now New England. So you have like all of these and these big teams like breaking it. Again, right. You're absolutely right. It doesn't bode success. And yeah, with New England, okay, they could position themselves and make a nice run to MLS Cup final, but we were just talking off air. Look at their schedule. Look at how the format is set up. It was pretty much, you can't say handed to them on a silver platter, but pretty close as the season developed. And yeah, you can use that and run roughshod through the East. That doesn't necessarily mean you can clear every hurdle, win MLS Cup final, even if it's on your home pitch. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And I mean, considering that the Revolution had been there before and lost, So it's not a guarantee. The history of the team, not only that, but the history of Supporter Shield. I mean, if you go through again, LAFC, who were the record holders
Yep.
previously in
Yeah.
2019, only made it to the conference finals once again, losing to Seattle. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win. Now, to be fair, Atlanta and Toronto, back to back, they did win it.
Mm-hmm.
Although Atlanta didn't win Supporter Shield, but they were
Right.
pretty close up there. They got
Yeah, they
69
were
points.
neck and neck with Red
Yeah.
Bulls.
So I mean, and then if you go back to the '98 Galaxy, although Supporter Shield didn't exist back then, they were just retroactively given the Supporter Shield.
Yeah.
They didn't win. Now 2011 Los Angeles Galaxy did win, but then you go past that, everybody is conference finals, conference semifinals. So that also includes New York City FC, who didn't win Supporter Shield in 2019, but got close. I mean, they were like 8 points behind LAFC, and still didn't get there either. So just getting high point, and I mean it's different from what you'd see in other. If you're going to talk about American sports, a lot of times the higher seeds are the ones that do make it to those finals, right?
Right.
The big games,
Yeah.
right? Whereas in MLS, where you're going to that American style, but this is a traditionally not American sport.
Yeah.
So that's what's interesting, Eric, is like you're doing all of this to adopt an American style. You obviously have American ownership, and they believe in franchises. You don't have the promotion relegation, all of that stuff. But the one thing that if you're going to use the European marker, right, or not European, let's say the world marker of the Supporter Shield, the top of the table, you're supposedly the champ, right? And almost every other league, because there are leagues like the Russian league and the Mexican league, Liga MX, and a few others that do the playoff system, right? And MLS is not the only one, NWSL as well. So, but do you think perhaps maybe it's a bigger thing to discuss when you get to, I guess, the final number? I mean, although MLS may never have a final number of expansion teams.
Maybe. I'll counter that with a maybe.
But at least Don, our friend Don Garber, not really.
I've been quiet, Don. Be thankful. Be thankful.
Our arch nemesis, Don Garber, who we know for sure wants to get to 30. He wants to get to that magical 30, if not 32, to match another league that is rather big in the United States. Once you get to that number, is it the time finally to say, look, one table, pick your 16 teams, and that's it, and there's no. I mean, I get it. I get that they want the American thing of the conferences and all
issues
all
with
that stuff, but
issues with travel and stuff. But I'm going to bring it to that point, and the reason why I say maybe, the magic number is 32. Every other of even the big four leagues here in North America, they're either at 32, just gotten there, or they're planning to get to 32 in the near future. 32 seems to be the dream. So I'm pretty sure, knowing Don, that's going to be the apex, 32. You can do that, even though it will be still heavily abnormal. You can make that work with a 32-team league. You would have a single round robin plus one additional derby match. A 32-game schedule, nice, still along the lines of what we're working on now, and then top 16 MLS Cup playoffs. Not that hard.
Mean, even Bruce Arena brought it up of how much does the supporter shoes really matter when you you don't have a balanced schedule.
No.
Right? You're going against one side of the bracket way more than you are the other side. And you don't have the home. I mean, you do eventually get the home and home stuff when you're playing the whatever conference you're in, but you don't necessarily get that when you're playing the other conference, right? You may only get that one game. So now granted, this year's schedule was a bit more heavily skewed towards interconference play because of the travel and all that stuff.
Right.
But I get this is why people say we can't go to the FIFA schedule because of the winter and how terrible it is and all that stuff for some of the teams. But it's like travel. You can tell me about travel all day long. Travel is normal in every single other league in the world.
Yeah.
And every American league.
Travel is inevitable. You're going to have games where you're going to be crossing multiple time zones. Yes, travel is a bigger factor when you have a league spanning a larger geographic area, but you go ahead and you bite the bullet. Other leagues have managed and have done things, so that's just going to be a part of it as well here in MLS. So something like that doesn't entirely...
it just doesn't... To me, I don't buy that whole travel thing when 3 of the other leagues in American sports play way more games than you do.
Exactly.
Like, people don't bring that up?
No.
Right? They play back-to-backs and all that other stuff. Like, I don't want to hear about how, oh my God, they can't possibly go from... And we're talking about they play one game a week most of the time. Maybe a midweek game. Like, oh my God, I can't travel from New York to Seattle twice a year. Oh my Lord.
Yeah,
how
exactly.
terrible would that be?
If you're looking at like these flights, what would be the longest one? Miami to Seattle? Miami to Vancouver?
Yeah.
That's about it. And you're making that trip each way once a season. That's all. Most of the time, you're not going more than a time zone, 2 time zones.
Please. Yeah, other than the California to New York and New York to California,
right,
kind of thing. But
like LA, New England, and all that. I get that going the other way, but again, still once a year.
That's the thing. It's like whatever roadblock you come up with, I just don't see the point of having a supporter shield if you're not really going to eventually go to that sort of thing where you have the regular system that everybody else has. Okay, home and home, you play each other, that's it. And you realize, okay, who are the top 16 teams? They go to the playoffs, and then you play the playoffs.
Even staying here domestically, that's exactly what the USL does. Even though they have 2 tables, Eastern and Western Conference, all of the play is in those respective conferences. No interconference matchups whatsoever. They don't have any sort of supporter shield for good reason. They have that, then they have their conference playoffs, and on you go.
Yeah. But MLS just wants to have the arbitrary, hey, look, we're trying here. We're trying to be like everybody else.
Well, and best comparison I can bring this up with, the A-League in Australia. How many times do you see with their minor premiership, or they have like that thing for the end of the home and away season? No, they have the bulk of their qualification, even for Asian Champions League, how you do in the postseason. That carries a lot more weight, same as it does here. So,
yeah, but that's the thing. Well, they'll eventually have to figure out if they're going to. But I feel like with as Americanized as they continue to want to be, but then also want to throw the bone to the European scheduling or whatever type thing that they want to do, they're going to have the conferences because it's apparently we all can't figure out that it's one league and they all got to play each other and that's it. We all got to have this conference. And you can still have the rivalry week, right?
Of course. Of course.
The other leagues do it. They just
Yeah.
scatter it out throughout the season. They don't have it all in one week.
No.
But you can still do it that way. You can still schedule rivalry week. They just don't have to be in the same conference or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It just it seems like it's MLS just trying to manufacture things because we have to do it that way. It's the only. I mean, you tell me if that matters. If the stands are not even a fourth full for NYCFC and Red Bulls, and that's supposed to be some big derby because it's New York versus New York.
Exactly, the Hudson River
stuff.
Derby, but it's no. Everybody, when they see NYCFC, what do they think of as a big derby? Orlando.
Yeah, because there's actually some there was at one point, I think, when NYCFC had Villa and Pirlo and all that, and they had they'd bring in more fans, but it's difficult. I mean, it's difficult, I think, when you're talking about all of these different teams, and it's just like some of the stuff is obviously natural, with Red Bull and some other teams.
Yeah.
Don't need to manufacture it. It will either happen or it won't.
No, you're absolutely right. Teams will find other teams to like and hate. Let that just occur.
But just to finish that point, great for the Revolution that you are Supporter Shield winners. Now go out and prove it when you get to the playoffs, which, speaking of, the next week when we're doing this show, we will know who is officially in the MLS playoffs and who's not. But, just for giggles, because we are here, even though I don't understand why we're having 5 games in the midweek and then having another slew of games with those same teams again on Sunday. It seems like a little bit of a disadvantage to some of these teams.
It really does, because even for the greatness that is Championship Sunday in the Premier League, they're like, all right, we have this schedule, so everybody's caught up. Nothing in the midweek unless absolutely necessary leading up to that. Everybody's full systems go. But MLS gonna MLS.
Right. I mean, in Toronto, sitting there playing Pacific FC for the Canadian Championship in between all that as well. So you have that is like weird in itself, but sure, whatever. So here's the way this looks before we get to now. Granted, there is a game on Monday, and there is a game on. Okay, so there's a game on Monday between LA and Seattle, which is pretty big, and then there's a game between LAFC and Vancouver, which is sort of, I guess, big. And then you have, those 5 games that I mentioned on Wednesday, and then you have all the games on Sunday. So you still have some games that need to be played here, but let's do this because we won't get another chance before we get to next week. Pretty much we know New England with 20 points more than the next 2 teams below them. It's ridiculous, by the way. 22 and only losing 4 games all year, drawing 7 and then winning 22 with those 73 points. Now the record holder for the most points in 1 year. So looking at it this way, Philadelphia, Nashville, and NYCFC have now clinched playoff spots. The teams that are left right underneath are Eric's Orlando City FC there. Atlanta right underneath them at 47. So that's a big deal. And then New York right underneath them, the Red Bulls. Sorry, I should mention Red Bulls right underneath them. And then right now, under that line are DC, Columbus, and Montreal, who are still within a shout of making that lowly 7th spot there that Red Bull currently hold. So Yeah, Eric. I mean, right now you can be happy for one team, and then I guess not happy for the other team.
And this is how it always goes. I will get to this more when we talk about our supporters club's moment, but DC Columbus. That's all I'm going to say for right now.
Yeah, big game. I mean, so looking at it like this, that the Wednesday slate, there is one huge game, Red Bull and Atlanta, that could decide a lot if somebody gets 3 points there heading into Sunday.
Yeah, I saw a lot of playoff scenarios, and I nearly broke out my whiteboard. Trying to track them all.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting for Orlando, who have to play Montreal as well. If Montreal can get the 3 points against Houston, which you would think that they should, if they're going to be contenders at all for a playoff spot. Man, what an interesting turn of events that game could be when you're talking about those standings, how they could just take a turn all of a sudden. So watch out, for if you're not careful, maybe both teams.
I am at this point, after what I've been through the last month, I am prepared for saltiness. Anything positive is just going to be a pleasant surprise. I'm prepared for the salt.
Hey, at least your team is there. I mean, mine
True.
is both of your teams are there. Mine is completely Dallas is completely eliminated from anything sort of mirroring contention. Now in the West, it's just basically LAFC and Real Salt Lake, and Real Salt Lake has the big game as well in the midweek, so they have a lot to look at. As in the West, a lot simpler. There's still some movement that can happen, but again, remember that in the West you have the game on Monday and the game on Tuesday still before you get to Wednesday and Sunday, so a lot can happen there. But LAFC and Salt Lake in 9th and 8th, right within a point of each other at 44-45, and you got LA. So whatever happens on Monday between Seattle and LA, that can matter a lot. If, say, Seattle gets 3 points, that means the Galaxy are right there, still stuck at 46, holding on to that 7th spot with dear life, as Vancouver and Minnesota are right there above them, and with Portland. So still a lot of movement that can happen between now to Sunday with all these games. So, man, will this be an interesting thing when we get to next week. Should be fun when we get to that. And then getting on to those MLS Cup playoffs and everything else. But always a fun thing. The NWSL also in their last of their playoff. They're doing the home and home series right now. So next week they will be finishing that off, and then they'll be doing their they'll be doing who plays who in the semifinals. Between, I think it's the Thorns and the Rain are waiting to see who goes through. So we shall definitely see when that comes.
Come on, Rain! Well. Just saying.
Well, gotta go for some team, right?
Hey, for the visual, you get this. For our audio only folks, I will explain on Twitter.
Yeah, and of course, speaking of women's soccer for a little bit here, Carli Lloyd officially finishes her career with the U.S. Women's National Team. A 6-0 win over South Korea after the first game finished 0-0 the week before. Carli Lloyd comes off in about the 60-something minute, and she does a great turn to her next chapter in her life, taking off her jersey. It says Carli Lloyd, and finally having her husband Brian Holland's name on the back of her jersey, kind of signifying, I'm done. Now I'm moving on to my life after soccer. Of course, she's still playing
Mhm.
She does have a playoff game to see if her team's going to make it to the next round in NWSL. But as far as women's national team, that's it. That's her career. She doesn't finish it out with a goal or anything, but I mean, what a stellar career she has.
Exactly. I mean, if you look at these like a last friendlies leading up to like her last games, even with these two in South Korea before that against Paraguay, I really think she went off in style overall, and the team sent her off in style. So I mean, yeah, you would have that storybook moment. Oh, she scores a goal in her last appearance, but honestly, I think she is okay, and everyone else is okay because she's got the numbers, huge amount of goals, caps, everything else. It's like she realizes, hey, my time has come. And again, it was another great gesture. So I thought, very, very class act.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and getting to play until you're 39 is that is a testament to you as an athlete, as a
Mm-hmm.
tremendous athlete. I mean, she definitely goes down as one of the greatest, not only women's, but just
Overall,
athletes
players,
in general.
period.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I'm sure that if you really went and did a ranking, there are the people that will say, she that doesn't equal anything, blah blah blah. But like to sit there, it's it's incredible that she makes 316 appearances for the United States. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I mean, you look at like
316.
all-time international caps, even in factoring in just with U.S. women's alone, because we have a lot of players is from all of our generations that have around in that neighborhood. But still, 316 is nothing to sneeze at. For all the
Yeah.
players who have, look at how many who don't even come close to that.
No, and then 134 goals speaks for itself. A huge number for her and the U.S. Women's National Team. Of course, the club career not as illustrious. Obviously, women's soccer has had a very torrid time in the United States, so it's really not fair to kind of compare that. But I mean, to go in and win two Olympic gold and a two women's World Cups back to back like that, I mean, that's incredible as well. Like,
Oh
just
yeah.
obviously, she's not the only member of those teams, but it's still a great feat for women's soccer as far as like just soccer in general, just being one of the greatest when you talk about U.S. athletes in the just for the round ball period, whether men or women. Carli Lloyd is definitely up top. You could, if you wanted to make a Mount Rushmore of women's soccer, it'd be hard pressed not to say, oh, she don't belong in there.
No, you can easily make a case. And if you can't, it's like, okay, who are the four that you would put on to leave her out? That would be the bigger question.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's obviously a few you could certainly put in there to leave her out, but it's hard to say, okay, out of the if you're going to put four people in, it's really hard not to say when you look at all the legacy that she has and talk about like as a just like a role model and being an outstanding person as well. Like that's a huge compliment to her and the way she has carried herself and such a hard worker. I mean, like there she goes and wins bronze in the Olympic golds, this last in 2020, and she's sitting there doing running up stairs.
Mm-hmm.
Like who does that? Carli Lloyd, So,
Exactly. I mean, it's something like that. I just win bronze. I'm in my 30s. I'm not doing stadium stairs like that
yeah, no.
anymore.
I'm just like, okay, I got my bronze, whatever,
Yeah,
like that's
I'm going.
good.
I'm going back in the Olympic Village. I'm going to enjoy a party until I gotta
Yeah,
go home.
most people are not gonna be doing that at all. So it's like it's crazy. It's crazy to think that how she has done this career and has been great for soccer in general in this country. So moving out to more of a worldly spectrum here. Obviously, this would have been more appropriate last week because that's when it happened, but we have seen it escalate, and now officially, Ronald Koeman is out at Barcelona. It was inevitable, right? It was inevitable. We knew it. Joan Laporta had always said that he wasn't his man. That's not his guy. He doesn't really care much for Ronald Koeman. Now the thing is, how does this affect one Serginho Dest, Eric? Because he's even gone and put Serginho Dest in a Clásico in big games at up front as a third member of a 4-3-3. I mean, obviously, no doubt, even Koeman said his position is right back. It's not like that was going
Right.
to be his position, but he really didn't have much options because of all the injuries and everything. You did see Kun Agüero come back in the at Clásico. He did score a goal. Obviously, at that point, it didn't matter. It was in the 97th minute. Wasn't going to do anything, but he missed a huge, huge opportunity. He does get the assist on the Kun Agüero goal, but I think he missed an opportunity in the next game as well. It's just like, I don't know. Does the next person who looks like it's going to be Xavi, the old Barcelona legend, would he have not favor Serginho Dest and perhaps he's out?
Maybe. I mean, really, I would hope that Xavi is taking a look around and saying, all right, this is what we got and what's going on, and immediately what's going wrong. Knowing the club the way he does, knowing the way they've historically played, and what's missing the mark. I would like to think, at least for that little while, maybe even if not even rest of this season, well, I guess it would be rest of this season, because judging going just up to the January transfer window would be way too little bit of a data. Maybe he's like, all right, leave in place and what do I have right now, because I won't necessarily be able to make any moves in January. See what's going on, what I can do, give Des the opportunities, and then maybe see in the summer what goes up. So I think there's this time, these next few months, where it's going to be a proving ground, and Dest is going to have an opportunity, but he's got to make the most of it. Because if he really doesn't, and he could wind up following Koeman wherever he ends up going. You got to put that on the table. But for right now, think of this for Dest and pretty much the team as a whole. All right, shop window or audition for your spots and see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that he would. I don't think he goes anywhere in January.
Mm-mm.
I think the thing is for Xavi, like you're saying, is I got a lot of older players.
Yep.
And then you also got a lot of young kids. You definitely got to have a youth infusion in that team, but you also got a limited budget. So can they even sign anyone during the transfer window?
Because you're $1 billion in debt. You're already wondering what's going on at your famed academy and trying to get your academy team, your B team, up to snuff where it was, so you can have that better youth infusion to your senior squad. He's being put in, I won't say in an untenable situation, but definitely unenviable, especially with the way Spain is cracking down even more as far as what's going to be available, not just in January, but even in the summer window.
Yeah, it's not just that. I mean, it's also like they only have a certain amount of money that can play the entire coaching staff, including Xavi and the rest of the coaching staff that he brings in. So and that's it. That's the cap for the whole coaching staff. So,
Yep.
I mean, look at it that way and just say, look at it and go, they're already playing pretty much who they have every week. We saw this against Alaves. They're playing, they got to play Memphis Depay every single week because, they got to play. I mean, sometimes, luckily, Kuno Huero's back, so they don't have to play Luke de Jong every week. Thank God, because Luke de Jong is, well, he's he's not. Let's just say he's not up to snuff, Eric. I mean,
not
you're having to play.
It's hard to say when someone's cooked if they were never really fresh to begin with. We can put it like that.
I mean, supposedly after the Dynamo Kiev game is when we're supposed to see Xavi finally get signed and he officially joins the club. But I mean, it's one of these things that, like, Memphis scores, but then who else? I mean, they really don't have anyone that they. Dembele, they've been waiting for him to come back the entire season, and then even then he gets hurt. He's a very injury-prone player, so and what can you expect from him? But look at this team, the way it's constructed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't. So your back line is two older guys, and Jordi Alba and Piqué, right?
Right.
And then Eric Garcia, who's awful, and then Sergio Dest when he normally plays right back, right? And then you have Sergio Busquets, who's also an older player. He seems to play great for Spain, but then he puts on a Barcelona shirt and he doesn't play the same way, right? And then up front, now you have a formidable, duo in Agüero and Depay, but good Lord, I mean, how much does Agüero have left? And he's very injury prone himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so it's like it's all on poor Memphis to do everything.
Yeah, you feasibly got almost half of your starting 11. You're either looking and say, all right, you really got to move on. They're on the verge of retirement despite whatever they would claim that they have left. That's the baseline of what you would have going forward. And even then, how are you going to replace them? Oh, this is looking even uglier than people realize.
You can't replace them because you don't have. You're in debt. So
yeah, and this is what I'm saying. Between all the debt, between the bigger financial constrictions you have, you're going to know the numbers as next season.
And you got to pay Koeman.
Yes,
you got to pay Koeman to get him out. So it's crazy what Barcelona has got themselves into. Hope to God for them that nobody else gets injured on that team because I don't know who they're going to play. So they're going to be bringing up kids from the academy just to play in the first team.
Hope their B squad is at least a third decent because it's like, we're going to need you.
Yeah, definitely. That's something that's going to be something to watch. And I wouldn't expect Xavi to just make this magic turnaround because I don't really know. He doesn't have, unless he just starts playing the kids to just be like, well, let's just freshen up this team. Let's start playing the kids because we don't have other options just to see what they got because what else are we going to do in this season? I mean, you're like 9 or 10 points below Espanyol at this point. Like, are you really going to be able to make that up with the teams that are ahead of you at this point? I don't know. It doesn't seem likely for them. So that's just something to look put your eye out on. But man, I don't envy Barcelona fans.
No, I mean, what was the stat? They're on the verge of things keep going, missing the Champions League group stage for the first time in like 20 years. Let that sink in for a moment.
That's a lot. Think about that. Think about missing that Champions League money there too. That's not nothing to sniff at there. But let's move on now to the Manchester United moment of our show. Okay, we have to bring it up because it seems like we're hiding. We definitely know that Manchester United got absolutely shellacked by Liverpool 5-0 last week. They deserved to get absolutely destroyed. Mo Salah was a just top notch, amazing uh, talent on the day.
The first player to ever come into Old Trafford as an opponent and score a hat trick. He deserved it. He deserved it. We were just listless and asleep.
Yeah. And Pogba's challenge was definitely a red card.
No I saw that on the replay, and I was like, Eesh. Yeah, that was a red. The way he came in.
Yeah, and Naby Keita is why I feel bad for him. That dude scores, and he scores amazing goals, and then he gets taken out on a stretcher for that. So, feel bad for him, definitely on that one. But talking about this game in front of us here, the one that just happened. How interesting that you rely on a strike pairing that's 70 years old. Combined 70 years old, I should say.
Yeah,
and it gets you 2 goals.
I know, and they kept saying, and I'm like, we get it, Cavani, Ronaldo, they're old, but it worked. At least against Tottenham, it worked.
I mean, they're not ancient. I mean, Cavani still freaking goes box to box, for God's sakes. Not Ronaldo. I mean, that's just him. And, he'll go and run out to the ball if he's upset or whatever, or he really wants to make a point. But that's just not him. But when you do need him, he comes up with an absolutely ridiculous finish, like the one that he pulled out off a great Bruno volley in there. And then Cavani, great pass from Ronaldo, an assist on that goal, and then on him to make the finish, and then Rashford with a nice finish as well to get that third goal at the end after it kind of didn't matter, but much better all around. But I think that is more of a cosm of how bad Tottenham are.
Yeah, because they're languishing, if I remember right, like mid-table-ish.
No, it's funny how they kept saying if Tottenham were to win, they could actually go 5th. That's how weird this English Premier League table is. Of anybody, I mean, Arsenal just went 5th with technically Arsenal went 7th now because West Ham won and everything. But so right now the table's, the top 3, which are Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, and then West Ham sitting there in 4th, 3 points above Manchester United, and then Manchester United's tied with Arsenal for 5th, and Brighton are right above Tottenham. So, I mean, if that doesn't tell you everything.
And the fact is that Tottenham, they're the only team in the league so far this season without a draw.
Yep.
Only
5 wins and 5 losses. That's it. Yeah, no draws at all. They either have to win or they lose.
It's a classic feast or famine as we're getting now to about roughly a quarter of the way through the season. But it's and I even said this, even with this result here, I only have 4 words to describe this. Off with Ole's head. Shouldn't be at the wheel anymore. I'm sorry. It's gone on long enough.
I will say, I think you have to give him credit for changing the team and going to three at the back and
Giving him
playing your three. I mean, they aren't technically your three best, they are technically your three best defenders that you have as far as center backs go.
I'm
But
sorry, giving him credit for finally making some sort of adjustments that should have been done how long ago?
well,
I saw the way that it was arranged and everything, like a 3-4-1-2. This is something that I preached about even on this very podcast.
but did he know that Cavani and Ronaldo were going to be able to play together? I mean, so like that's something that you have to be able to trust and see. But I do agree with him in saying that he should have put the experience in long ago, right? Like what Cavani gives you. He works hard.
Yes.
He goes after every ball, whether it's going defensively or offensively. Yeah, now he'll give away the ball sometimes as well. We saw that a few times.
Yeah.
But then Ronaldo is there to give you the header or the fantastic finish or the whatever.
And, with like the free kicks haunting around the box, that's where he parks himself normally in games. And then when he does, you get it to him. He's lethal. We understand that.
Yeah. And then you have a Jadon Sancho, a Mason Greenwood, a Marcus Rashford that can come off the bench and be lethal, use that pace, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know if this team can start every game. I think that works here for Tottenham. I don't know that it works for every game, but this is why Ollie needs to be better at being able to see that and think tactically and not just be like, oh, well, I'm going to put – to his credit, he's putting the best ones he can put out there. But again, like you're not going to be able to use that combination every single game.
Exactly.
Atalanta is going to be a very interesting proposition on Tuesday. What happens there? Very important game because it really sets you up well if you can get the 3 points there to then go on the back half and have to play Villarreal and Young Boys again. But moving on past that, you have Man City on the weekend, the early morning Saturday game. For me, Eric, it doesn't matter if he goes and whether he barely wins at Atalanta or he wins comfortably there. If you go and get blown out at Manchester City, who are going to be very angry because they got knocked out of the Carabao Cup after Zach Steffen doesn't save one single solitary penalty, and you're going to sit there and tell me that Zach Steffen should be the number one U.S. goalkeeper.
Nope.
This is why I will say that. Now granted, penalties are penalties, and they're not always guaranteed to be saved because a lot of times they'll get hit in a way that there is no way you're going to save them. But that was his cup to play in. So what game is he going to play in now?
Exactly. So, if you're making your living as the designated cup keeper, you do enough to where you can keep playing in those cups. That's the whole point.
He didn't do that. But either way, yeah, and then you go and drop. You don't play well and get Laporta red carded and everything. So, that they're going to have a point to prove as well.
Mm-hmm.
And man, if it's another blowout, I think that undoes what you do in those other two games, and you have to sack him. I don't think you can, unless you're the Glazers and you just don't give two shits about how the fans feel, which I would be very angry at this point.
United fans have shown their anger about the Glazers already with other stuff. So I am taking that fully into account. If this even ends up, say, along the lines of a 3-0 City, he's got to go. He's got to go. No doubt about it.
I get it that you're trying to do the Mikel Arteta thing and say, "Oh, we're gonna save his job" and all that stuff. For Arteta, it has worked. To be fair, he was given 3 games. He squeaked by. They kept with it, and now look where Arsenal are compared to where they were when everybody was going for his head. But the thing is, this is not Solskjaer's first year. This is, Ole has been in this for a while now, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're already out of the Carabao Cup. You lost in the Europa League final last season. We'll see what happens in the Champions League. I mean, you're already kind of putting yourself in a hole in the Premier League. You can't afford to really lose that
No.
many more to begin with, number one. And number two, like having two defeats within 3 weeks of each other to your two biggest rivals, and you're not even putting up a fight, and then you go and play a lowly Tottenham team in the middle, and that's supposed to make everything great. Like, if you're the Glazers, I don't care if you don't have anybody that you've talked to already. You can't possibly keep him around
No.
as the manager. I mean,
And
you already know he's not the guy.
No, and they even made it like a really important. We talked about this. It's a matter of, okay, yes, we the Glazers with Manchester United, it's about making money. It's about profits. Even if you're going along that line of thought, wouldn't a club be more valuable and you would make even more profits if they're winning meaningful trophies?
Yeah, people
United,
will actually want to support them, right?
yes, United aren't. They haven't. And hate to break it to you, you just said at this course, it's not looking good for us to pick up one. It just isn't. So it's like for all of your other ventures and things going on, and already the hatred and borderline vitriol, not just from Manchester fans against you as the Glazers over there, but the leaning negative tide towards American ownership in general, you really got to put your foot down instead of saying, okay, we're going to do this to Old Trafford. We're going to listen to your fans, this and that. You actually have to demonstrate knowing what you're doing something and saying, hey, this isn't working.
Yep. I mean, they don't operate at the same level that, say, Chelsea or Manchester,
Right.
Man City do. Like, they are just kind of doing the typical American thing of like, well, he got us by, so let's give him a. We got second, like 12 points behind Manchester City, but yeah, we got second. So
and even compared to other ownership, Fenway Sports Group in Liverpool, what are Liverpool doing? They were working things. They're saying, hey, we want to be perennial contenders. I mean, yeah, you can't necessarily say the same thing about Stan Kroenke and Arsenal. Fine, but at least Arsenal is showing, hey, if this does not work, we will make changes and find something that does. Now,
I mean,
that
to
lit
be
that
fair
fire.
to Arsenal and Man United, okay, you spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? You brought in Ronaldo. You brought in Sancho.
Yeah.
Yeah, you brought in Varane. Like, you're bringing in those guys to be middling. I'm sure Ronaldo don't want to be spending his twilight years not winning anything.
No.
So, like, dude, I mean, this guy is not gonna get you where you need to go. Now, the thing is, even if he wins these games, even if the team wins these games, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be the same thing. It's
exactly.
It's going to be okay. Well, 1 week they're going to play great. The next week they're going to be all right. They might squeak by or whatever, but it's like eventually it's going to catch up to them.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't figured out who his best 11 is. He's kind of like throwing stuff against the wall every week. He had 2 weeks where he didn't play Pogba from the beginning and have him then you have to quickly bring him off the bench when stuff would go wrong. It's like, obviously you're just kind of like playing around.
Mm-hmm.
Or like you don't have a identity of this is what you want the team to be I'm just going to throw out the players and, well, they're great, so they got to do something.
Yeah,
It's
this isn't Football Manager. This isn't FIFA.
Right. You're not Claudio Ranieri, who is now in another Premier League team in Watford doing his thing. Credit to that man. That dude it's ridiculous how many teams he has coached. But like the dude won the league, right, with Leicester. So, I mean, like, what does that tell you? That I get it. Like, he is a former player and you have a lot to care about him for, but it's like the Glazers are not going after what you used to expect, like excellence when we're talking about Manchester United. Now it's kind of like it's almost like any other like American owner. Well, hey, they're kind of getting there, dude. Like
it's a rebuilding plan. It's a process.
Yeah.
You gotta have some kind of payoff. Have to.
There's got to be something to it. I mean, you got to win something. If you don't, then what's the point, right? So, moving on from that, that gets the ire going, certainly there. But we do have one interesting topic to discuss that involves the Serie A and two teams in general, Juventus and Napoli. Of course, Napoli is leading the league up there with my team, AC Milan. AC Milan can't do jack in the Champions League, but they are doing great in the league itself, at least. So the crux of this is that Juventus and Napoli are being accused of committing like an overvaluing of players in order to kind of like cook the books, basically. So 62 suspicious Serie A transfers are being investigated by the federal prosecutor, with Juventus and Napoli being involved, and Juventus being involved in 42 of them. Not one, not two, not three, 42.
So 2/3 of all of the transfers they're looking at. When I first came across this story, and I was like, not again.
They've exchanged 21 players for the total sum of 90 million euros, with only 3 million actually moving from one club to another. How does that even work? So no transfer fees here. So, they moved Pjanic to Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also moved, Mateus Pereira da Silva for 8 million. But then, they sent Alejandro Marquez back for 8.2. So they barely, they didn't lose any money. Then Napoli went and signed Victor Osimhen from Lille. And they sent 4 players back to Lille in exchange. Look, this doesn't really happen in world soccer, to explain.
Even just like 1-for-1 player exchange almost never happens.
Right. You don't see players get traded.
No, you don't.
So, like, this is weird. It's obviously suspicious because, and then not only that, it's like they valued all 4 of these players at 20 million euros. What are these players doing right now, Eric? 2 of them are playing in Serie D. Not B, Serie D, like dog. And one of them is in Serie C.
I think isn't Serie D like a step up from the regional leagues? And like semi-professional?
But this is your 4th tier down, Eric. Like, why are you being sent off you're being swapped out in some team? Lille is no joke. Lille is the French champions, okay? Like,
yes. They're defending Les Championnat right now.
Right. They're defending Les Championnat right now. and you're sending them 4 players that Leo didn't deem worth a jack to go have them sit in Serie D. Like, wow. You might as well play for the reserve team or something. If it's weird, Eric. Like,
yes,
I definitely understand why. Like,
the investigations make sense, and has the Serie A and those that run it in another place to where you're starting to get more and more American ownership. But I'm not putting them involved. I'm just saying coincidence as far as timing. Have they learned nothing from, what are we now? We're about 15 years on from the big match fixing scandal? If even? Now it's not match fixing again, thankfully, but now you've got other suspicions. Why? I that's just my one question.
They really need to balance the books that bad, I guess.
And you're not hurting for money either. You're getting some quality ownership.
Now, to be fair, the Serie A was hit really hard by the pandemic.
So, I get that. I get that.
I just wanted to put that out there.
No, and again, I get that, but it's not like you're selling teams for a pittance either. Even with the pandemic and everything going on, look at how many clubs, like I was saying, have come in and drawn some good level American owners for these clubs. Right. And they're saying, hey, yes, before the pandemic, a lot of it, I will clarify.
Yeah, but do these American owners or whatever want to just look? That's the thing. That's the difference between the American owners are not. Now they're spending money.
Yeah, but
they're not spending the ridiculous amounts of money that we see Man City and
it's not, you're not like getting these sovereign oil funds or anything like that. I get it, but at least you're getting levels of ownership where it's like, hey, we know that these are good teams and can build this league. Let's build it up to where it can stay at that competitive level within Europe and internationally. Do something to build off, actually show they care. You don't need to pull off shenanigans like this. What's the point?
I mean, to be fair on UB's end, they have had a lot of instability.
Well, and I get
at the manager position. I mean, they're
instability at the manager position. I mean, look at how long the Andrea Pirlo experiment lasted, and you've had players coming out and saying, "Yeah, we're better off without Ronaldo because he never truly fit in our ethos." And we're better off, playing as a team instead of centered around him. So I get that there's a lot of rumblings and stuff behind the scenes, but do you need to add any more to that?
Yeah, but look how not great Juventus are doing right now. Because Max Allegri is stuck in the past with the way he sets up the team. That's a whole other deal for some other time. But just wanted to bring this up because it was very interesting that we have Italian clubs involved in something like this. Mm-hmm. I mean, not that there probably aren't other clubs doing this as well, but it shows you that sometimes when you go, man, is that player really worth that?
Yeah.
Sometimes that evaluation isn't always legit,
Yeah, I mean, is it as bad as the art industry? No, but you're always going to have some of those question marks.
Oh, yeah, certainly. No doubt. No doubt on that end. So, all right, Eric, let's get into the supporters club here. What are your feelings? I mean, we talked about where Orlando and DC are on the table right now. Orlando is playoff bound. Yeah, as long as they don't totally screw it up. And then DC's right on the edge of not making it with a game to play. How are you feeling?
DC United 2, Columbus 3. The second half was insane. I thought we had it in the bag. And then what do we do? Granted, one of those Columbus goals was a total banger. no fault whatsoever. But it's just like I say about falling asleep. It's like you're right there, but instead of like actively being involved, closing it down and what have you, it's just you have these glimpses, and not even just a second here, a second there, full on glimpses where you just stand there, and it's like, what are you really doing? Columbus, even though they were away, yes, they were still fighting for their playoff lives like DC is, and it's just. I saw the collapse right in front of me, and I'm like, why? Why did I even tune? Oh, the salt, the salt, the salt, the salt. Why did? Yeah, this is what, like I said, this is what's been in my life. One team or another, when everything else is going great, it's that one that just comes along and says, "Not today." Be glad that at least Dallas is out of it and you don't have to feel my pain. Everything's pretty much done and dusted, and you can look forward to 2022.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely know how that feels. They won, but obviously those games don't matter now. Good on Jesufe for getting the goal there. I hate saying that it sucks that Dallas is kind of out of the running, that they're whatever they do here doesn't matter, but it's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, at least you're building towards next season, getting something in place.
Yeah, certainly. So we talked about Manchester United already. Valencia have had a big win against Villarreal in a game that Yunus Musa did not play in, but they still looked good. I was surprised with. Uh, I was surprised to be able to get that win against Villarreal, who have been very stout defensively, and was glad because they were starting to go into a free fall where they were not winning and then getting handled. They got handled by Real Betis over the last week, so I was like, wow, oof, you know. So and they had to pull out two in injury time to beat Matthew Hoppy's Mallorca. So Valencia has kind of been topsy turvy, but very happy with the big win against Villarreal. They kind of not dropped too far. Right now they're tied with Barcelona at 16 points. Still kind of far down the table, but it's still a little bit early. So let's see if they can kind of keep it together there. They're the only one of my teams aside from America, who obviously plays in Liga MX, who don't have some big midweek game. But America with a big loss in the CONCACAF Champions League. Monterrey, the Rayados win the CCL, although there was some VAR controversy there. But, it is what it is, apparently. And they lose to Cruz Azul in the Liga, which that's not great because America's been very good at picking on the bad teams. And then when they come up against the good teams, they've done okay. Like they beat Tigres and then they lose to Cruz Azul. So not great on that front.
America is still in a position for a good chance in the league.
Yeah, I mean they're first in the league.
Yeah.
So, but I just don't like hearing that. I just don't like seeing that because then again, you get a lot of the talk about how good really are they because they don't win the league. When it matters, they don't beat the teams that they're gonna have to face in Liga and all that stuff. So I just I hate seeing it for Liga MX, but it is what it is. I mean, right now they're still first with more like 8 points above Atlas and 9 above Tigres. So they have a cushion thanks to how they do against those. But again, just like we talked about with the New England Revolution, it doesn't really matter if you don't do jack in La Liguilla. So
Right, right.
we'll definitely see when it gets to that for sure. So Dortmund do their thing against Cologne. Hazard with a nice goal, and yeah, but they got a big game against Ajax in midweek. That one is going to be fun to watch. Interesting for see if Dortmund can surpass that and win. Definitely want to see them do better. Marseille got to have that revenge game against Nice behind closed doors. They finished 1-1. Payet with the tying goal. Unfortunately, couldn't get much there. Uh, and then they went to beat Clermont Foot thanks to Under's goal early on. So at least they're Nice is above them by a point thanks to that point that they drew against each other. But they're keeping up in at least in a Champions League place right now. So I'm happy about that. But the rest of the table is kind of tight when you take Paris Saint-Germain out of it that are like 8 points clear right now. So, and they got a nice win as well, PSG on their end. So good for them. And very happy about Milan whooping on Jose Mourinho. Ibrahimovic with the goal that would get them to win. So take that, Mourinho.
Zlatan, after all these years, is still Zlatan.
Yep, still Zlatan, still going and still doing his thing. Very proud of the man for doing what he does best and sticking it to Jose Mourinho, who wants Brian Reynolds out of the team. He does not want him at Roma anymore. So that'll be definitely an interesting thing when we get to January, see where he goes. But yeah, glad to see Milan stay on top, right behind Napoli, keeping pace with them. Napoli suffered their first drop points of the season as well. So we shall see what happens going forward with Serie A as well. And they got a big game. They have to win if they want to do anything, if they want to get to Europa League against Porto here. They have been absolutely awful, dreadful in the Champions League. So they need to get their butts in gear here if they want to matter at all when it comes to a European glory at all there. But that is going to be it for us here for this week. Hopefully you have enjoyed our show. If you watched live, we appreciate it. If you're going to watch later on YouTube or Twitch or on the Facebook page or whatever, thank you for that as well. Of course, you can listen to us on anywhere there are podcasts. Soccer the Max is available on Apple, Overcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Pods. Anywhere you think that there are podcasts, pretty much we are there. So go check us out. And of course, I mentioned Eric has a bunch of shows that he does on WTM Network. So if you subscribe to the whole network, you get everything. You get Eric's football show with the kickoff that he does with Harry and Kennedy. You get the League to the Max show, which is inside the feed to my video games to the Max show, which I'm going to record with Mark tomorrow. We had an episode talking about the Halo campaign trailer and among other things, games we're playing and all that stuff. Go check out that League of Legends stuff if you enjoy that. And, of course, Mark Rowlitz with everything you want entertainment-wise. You definitely want to go and check out any movie pretty much that has come out recently. They have a review there for you.
There's a crossover in the works between Damn You Hollywood and Life is Like a Game Show. Stay tuned for that because we're getting on that.
Yeah, should be a fun thing when we get to that for sure. So until next week, which we already know, MLS playoffs are going to be set by the time we go to this show. And of course, we'll be talking about, hopefully talking about, well, we probably won't because they'll probably wait till like Tuesday or something to announce the U.S. men's national team for the game against Mexico on Friday, on that next Friday, and then of course the game against Jamaica. So we shall get we'll be getting to that pretty quick too. So get ready for that, and that'll be the last international window of 2021. So, but yeah, until we get to next week, thank you for listening, for watching, and we'll see everybody later.
Peace.
Bye.